Alright, in this video tutorial I'm going to be demonstrating the processes behind producing stiffener details, or to be producing stiffeners to be used throughout your floor plan and also your foundation plans. I'm going to be demonstrating the production of three basic stiffener types. I'm going to be looking at the L stiffener, the I or the straight, and also at the T stiffener. Alright, now I'm going to be producing these, however, on my wall layer. To do that, I'm going to my layers manager and I'm going to be making my A wall my current layer. I'm going to be starting off, however, with the L stiffener. Now to do that, let us ensure that we're drawing on the correct color and also on the correct layer. Now I'm going to be using polyline, so I go line and from that I go polyline. Alright. Now the basic dimensions for a L stiffener, I'm going to click on my screen and ensuring that my ortho mode is actually on. Now I'm going to go in this direction 150 millimeters, so I type 150 millimeters, give an enter. I'm going to be heading in this direction 150, give an enter as well. I'm going back in this direction 150, give enter. I'm coming also in this direction a 150, I give enter. I'm going in this direction back 300, give enter, and now I could give a C enter to close the polyline. Alright, so here I would have had my L-shaped stiffener to be used throughout the building. Alright, I'm just now going to be also constructing my I stiffener, or the straight stiffener. To do that, again, I'm going to be using the polyline, and let's say I want to start that construction here, and I'm going in this direction again 150, give an enter. I'm going in this direction 150, again I give an enter. Oh, I'm sorry, this one should have been 300 in this direction, so let me delete that. Let me go again for polyline, and I'm going to start again here. I'm going to give 150, 6 inches wide by 300 by 150 in this direction, and I could now give a C enter to close that polyline. Alright, now the final one I'm going to be making is going to be my T stiffener, so let's go again for polyline, and let me click on my screen here, and I'm going in this direction 450 millimeters, give an enter. I'm going down 150 millimeters, give an enter. I'm going back to my left 150, give enter, and I'm going down 150, give enter. 150 also to my left, 150 upwards, and again to my right 150, and to close the shape I'm going to give a C enter for the shape to be concluded. What I would basically have on my screen are basically the profiles of three of the basic stiffener types to be used throughout the building. Take for example, the L stiffener is one that we could perhaps utilize at intersections like this one. The T, for example, could be used at intersection like this one, for example, or wherever the need will arise for use of that. I am, however, going to be showing the reinforcement of these stiffeners. Alright, and so to do that, I'm going to be creating a layer for my reinforcement or for my steel bar. And so I'm going over to my layers manager. So let me bring up my layers manager. Alright, let's bring up my layers manager, and I'm going to be creating a new layer. So I'm going for a new layer, and I'm going to be calling this new layer steel bars. Alright, so I'm calling this layer steel bars, and I'm going to be putting my steel bars perhaps on a nice red. Alright, we would want for those line type to be the continuous type, and I'm going to go for a line weight of 0.8 because we sort of want for our steel bars to be dominant. There are, however, steel though that will be used that we will be making at a smaller weight. For example, our stirrups, I'm going to be reducing the weight for my stirrups. I should have gone ahead and made my steel bars be my current layer, so I've just done that. The next thing I'm going to be doing is to giving my steel bar adequate cover, because the steel bar should be some distance in from the edges of the concrete, and I'm going to go with a 1 inch, a 25 millimeter coverage. I'm going to do an offset. When AutoCAD prompts me to give distance, then I'm going to give distance of 25 millimeters, and I'm just going to be offsetting this polyline inwards for my steel reinforcement. Also for this one, I'm going inwards, and also for this one, I'm going inwards. Alright. Now, I would want to be using my inner lines to represent my stirrups, and so I'm going to go ahead and explode all 3 stiffeners. Alright, so I select explode, and I make my box over all 3 pieces, and I give an enter. What would happen here is that basically my polylines would have been broken up into individual lines. I've done that, and I should have perhaps brought these onto the respective layers before exploding. Now this is one of the setback about working with lines as opposed to polylines. In polyline it would have been one entity, but because I've broken it into lines, I now have to individually select all pieces. What I'm basically selecting are my stirrups, because I want to put those on the steel bar layer. And so to do that, I'm going to just go to my properties, and I'm going to change those layers from the wall layer, and I'm going to be placing them on the steel bar layers that I had created. I, however, want those being stirrups to be of a smaller line weight, so I'm going to just be reducing the line weight on those to perhaps a 0.4 millimeters, because I wouldn't want those to be that dominant. I would prefer for my major bars to be dominant. I'm going to be doing some fillet so as to have my steel bars being properly represented. And so to do that, I go to my fillet, which is on my modify, and I do a fillet. I'm going to be giving a radius, so let's select a radius of a 1/2 inch, so let's say 13 millimeters. Give an enter, and we're going to be filleting between this wall and this wall, and again fillet between this wall and this wall. Give an enter, and we're going to be filleting between this wall and this wall. What I'm actually doing is to represent appropriate bends on my steel bars. Alright, there's going to be another bend in this corner here. In this corner here, we would want also for this line to be filleted with this line, and also for this line to be filleted with this side of the line. Now be careful which side of the line you actually select, because the side you select will actually be the side you get to keep. And so I'm going to be selecting on this side. So I give a select. But some portions of my stirrup would have been messed up, and so I'm just going to be patching back those by selecting, for example, this one, and I'm going to be stretching it back to this point. Likewise, I select this one, and I'm going to be just stretching it back to this one. There we would have had our stirrups being adequately represented. All right. Now, in a similar way, we would have to fillet the corners of our T-stiffeners as well. So let's go again for my fillet command. From my modify, I go fillet. I check to ensure that my radius is still at 13 millimeters, and with that, let's just do a multiple because I'm going to be doing more than one fillet. And so with this one, I fillet with this one. Again, with this one, it's filleted with this one. This one works with this one with this one. There again, we would have had our stirrups being represented in our straight or eye stiffener. In a similar fashion, we would want to be filleting certain corners. Now we have to be careful about which corners we fillet. So let's go have a look see. We're going to be filleting this one obviously with this one. Again, it's going to be this one with this one. It's going to be this one with this one, and this one. We don't want that corner filleted. So it's going to be this one with this one with this one. Now what happens here is that we are now going to have to fillet this one with this piece here. Alright, and also we're going to be filleting this piece here with this piece here. Now by doing that, I would have lost some pieces, so all I'm going to be doing is just to grab these pieces and just stretching them back to their connecting points. For example, this one here should be connected here. Likewise, this end would be connected here. Alright. Now I would have had the stirrups being placed in all three stiffeners. What is now missing, however, are my vertical bars for my stiffeners. And so to do that, I'm going to go to my draw toolbar and I'm going for a donut in the rectangle pull down. So in my rectangle pull down, I'm going in and I'm going to be pulling out donut. When AutoCAD prompts you to specify the inside diameter for the donut, we're going to give an inside diameter of 0. Give an enter. And that's because we wouldn't want our steel bars to have any internal hole. And so we give a diameter of 0, indicating that our steel will be solid. AutoCAD now prompts us to give the external diameter for our bars, and we're going to be using 1/2 inch bars. So let's give a diameter of 13 millimeters and give an enter. Having done that, AutoCAD would have now attached a donut. If you notice, there is now a donut attached to my crosshair. What we're going to be doing are to be placing these donuts, which actually represents our steel bars, at the intersections or at the center of our filleted radius or our filleted corners. So here's one center. I'm going to be dropping a steel bar there. Once you get close enough to the corners or to the centers, they will be highlighted. All right. So again, I'm just indicating at which intersection steel bars would have been required. Again, for example, at this intersection it's not shown, but once I get my donut close enough to it, it's going to be displayed. Alright, so I'm pasting on that. Likewise on that one. And another one for this point here. And that would have been the reinforcement in your L stiffener. Alright, now for your eye stiffener in a similar fashion, we're going to be placing our reinforcements. Another one here. another one here, another one here. Again, that would have been adequately reinforced for our I stiffener. And for the T stiffener, we put one here, another bar here, another bar here, a bar here, a bar here, and two more bars here. So it's basically two straights intersecting in a manner like that. There'll be no need to place for placements of stiffeners in these intersections. As a guide, we can be guided that only the corners that has been filleted would require the use of reinforcement. I'll give an escape to release the command because I'm finished installing my stiffeners. I think we could have done too is that since this is not welded, it's not a bar that has been welded. What it is a bar that has been bent. We could actually put two lines, and that's a style that I always do on mine. Let me turn auto off so I can show that the steel bars have actually been bent around the steel. It sort of gives the appearance as if it now starts here, it goes around, comes back around, and it is lapped back around that. So that is something you could do for a more realistic look in terms of your stiffener details or your stiffener production. You could also have done that to another one, because this would have been another stiffener. So I would put a bend here, perhaps around this bar here. I have overshot that one, so let me trim away some of the excess. For example, that little piece. Again, it gives the appearance as though this bar started here, bends around this, comes back around here, and forms the loop. Alright, we could have done that in a similar fashion for all our stiffeners. One other thing we could have done is for enhancement, we could change our vertical bars from those colors. And I'm going to be doing just that. I'm going to be giving these bars a different color. So I've selected one bar, and from my properties, I'm going to change that color to perhaps green. Let's work with a green perhaps. And I'm just going to do now a match properties. So from my modify, I'm going to do a match properties of that one, and I'm going to be painting these bars so that they stand out, in a different color. And in a similar way, I'm going to go around and I'm going to be painting all my vertical bars differently. You perhaps would have chosen a different color. I'm just giving ideas here. Alright. So I'm painting all my vertical bars, which are represented as circles. Alright, let's give an enter. And I would now have all three stiffeners being adequately represented. For use, however, again, it's going to be hard for installation if the stiffeners are in pieces. And so what I'm going to be showing you is how to make these into a block. If they are in a block, they can be more easily selected for insertion. So to do that, I'm going to be doing them separately or individually. Alright? Now what you want to do is you want to select one of the stiffeners by right clicking and selecting it, or just selecting it, doesn't matter. Then you right click on it and you want to go copy the object. Alright, then you right click again on your screen and go clipboard again, but this time you're going to be pasting it as a block. Alright, so when you select block and when you drop that, you would now realize that, if I escape, you would now realize that the object is now one solid one, as opposed to on this one where they were in individual lines. It makes placement of these a little bit easier, or rotation of them a little bit easier, if they are as blocks as opposed to individual lines. I'm however going to be retaining the ones as lines, but I'm going to be copying. So I'm going to be selecting, right click, clipboard, copy, and right here I'm going to be clipboard and I'm going to be pasting it as a block. Again, I would have gotten my eye stiffener, and it is now as one solid entity. In a similar manner, for your T stiffener, you would have gone, selected that, right click, clipboard, copy, and again right click, clipboard, and we are pasting it as a block. Alright, so here I'm pasting. So I now have my 3 stiffeners, which are now as blocks, and they are now ready for installation in the building. Yes? Now, to apply these stiffeners throughout your floor plan, I'm not going to be telling you exactly how you are to go about reinforcing your building. But what I'm going to be suggesting, however, is that we try to reinforce the perimeter of the building first of all. But at the same time, you want to try not to over-reinforce. So to give some ideas, I'm going to start by dropping some stiffeners in this floor plan building here. To do that, let me just copy a copy of my floor plan, of my stiffener, and move it closer perhaps to where I'm going to be needing it. I'm going to do a rotate of it because obviously for this stiffener to be placed at this intersection, the orientation would have been off. So you want to turn your auto on and do a rotate. Select the object. Now it's one object, so it's easily selected. Give an enter, and I'm going to be rotating it in this position. Alright. Now that makes installation of this stiffener a little bit easier. So now what I have to do is now to copy this stiffener, give an enter, and I'm going to be holding it either here for placement here, or I could also hold it here for placement here. Now I would have had a stiffener inserted in my wall. Yes. In a similar fashion, we could also have placed a stiffener here. Alright, but based on that particular location, it couldn't accept the L or the T. Based on the shape of this wall termination here, we could only afford a straight stiffener. And so what some persons would have done is to start by putting in their stiffeners in their foundation. But you can be misled because here it seems as though we could have taken a T, but the floor plan would indicate that at that particular intersection, a T would not be appropriate. And so I'm going to be copying one of my eye stiffeners, which is this one. I'm going to be holding it here based on the fact that I would want to terminate that or paste that at this location. Alright, and so we would have gone about the building installing stiffeners in a similar way. I realize also that I could take another L at this intersection, and so I'm going to be copying this again, and let's move it closer to where I'm going to be installing it. There's need for rotation, so we will do a rotation of that in this direction, and we're going to now be moving that stiffener, holding it here, and I'm going to be pasting it in this wall here. I seem to have missed my point, so let me go again, and I'm going to be moving it, holding here and pasting here. That's the beauty about having your stiffeners being a block, because if they are incorrectly placed, selection of them can be easily done. Alright. For placement of, for example, a T stiffener, if you'd like, a T stiffener could have been placed perhaps here. And so again, I'm just going to be making one last placement, And so I'm going to be copying my T stiffener, which be this one. If I enter, let me hold it and let me turn auto off while I move it closer to this location here. I'm going to do a rotate. So let me turn back my ortho on and rotate perhaps in a 180 degrees like that. Alright, now I'm going to be moving my stiffener into position. I select and I'm going to be holding it perhaps here for insertion point here. Again, my T stiffener would have been adequately or properly placed. Alright. Likewise, we would have gone around the building and find appropriate placement for stiffener. This will be discussed individually based on the stiffener placement that you would have come up with. Having placed your stiffeners, however, in your floor plan, and you would have waited until you have completed the entire building placing in your stiffeners, then you would have just now gone about and copying your stiffeners from your floor plan onto your foundation plan. Alright, so let us pretend like they're all in. What you would have done is to just go copy, and you would now be selecting all the stiffeners installed in your floor plan. So we would have gone about and selected all the floor plan, all the stiffeners installed, and we would hold it at a common point. For example, a point which can be found on your floor plan and also be found on your foundation plan. For example, at this intersection here, we could take that intersection and we could have placed it at this intersection here. Oops, I seem to have missed my placement point. So again, let me go ahead and copy over. You would copy all your stiffeners. 1, 2, 3. In my case, I only have 4 now, but you would have had a whole lot more to be copied. And so you would have done the entire selection, give an enter, and perhaps you would wish to hold it at this intersection and paste it at this matching intersection. Ensure though that the snap is at the exact point that you would want your insertion being done. Alright, when you give a click, all your stiffeners would have been represented in your foundation plan. The remainder of the wall, however, would have to be hatched, but we will discuss that at another time. Alright, so have fun figuring out where exactly you're going to be placing your stiffener and install stiffeners appropriately. Alright, until next time, have fun drawing.